Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha.
Tameva Sharanam Gacha Sarva Bhavena Bharata Tat Prasadat Parang Shantim Sthanam Prapsasi Shashvatam. This word Sharanam is well known. It's coming up season for Swami Sharanam, which means a lot of people in black going around. But who is the Swami? The real Swami is Krishna. This is the ultimate message of Bhagavad-gita, is that we should take shelter of Krishna. This term Sharanam is also well known in the Vallabh Sampradaya, which is prominent in Gujarat, where they say they're worshippers of Krishna, and they say, Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama, Shri Krishna is my shelter. So this is the message of Bhagavad-gita, that we should take shelter of Krishna. Why? Because he is worth taking shelter of. As he describes here in Bhagavad-gita, that he is supreme, therefore he is quite capable of giving us shelter. In Srimad Bhagavatam, this is also explained. Samashrita ye padda pallava plavang mahatpadang punya yasho morare bhavambade vatsa padang 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 yadvipadang natesham. It's stated that this material world is like a great ocean which we cannot cross over, the ocean of birth and death. But we can cross over it by taking shelter of Krishna. In this material world there is danger at every step, and therefore it makes sense to take shelter of Krishna. He is Sharanyam Sharanam. He is worthy of, he is the one who we should take shelter of. He's quite capable of giving shelter. Now here it's stated, Tameva Sharanam Gacha Sarva Bhavena. One should take shelter of him in all respects. That's actually the meaning of taking shelter. There's no taking shelter, half shelter, that I'm fully surrendered to Krishna, but when I get too much problem, I go to Ganesh. Or I'm fully surrendered to Krishna, but there's some wonderful Swami coming who you bow down to him and he touches you and says Om, and then you see a light in your head, and I'm going to go and see him also. Taking shelter means full shelter of Krishna. Within Hinduism, we find many people who say that, yes, I worship Lord Vishnu and all the other gods also. But shelter means full trust, full confidence, as Krishna has explained in Bhagavad-gita, that the demigods, they're also, all these different gods, they're not supreme. Krishna is supreme. The demigods are also relying on him. So the conclusion is that we should take full shelter of Krishna. There are many examples given in Shastra of persons who took shelter of Krishna. Arjunan is one. There are many others. Prahlad Maharaj, Dhruva Maharaj. There are so many examples. Bahavo Jnana Tapasa Putamad Bhavamagataha. Many, being purified by knowledge of me, Krishna says, and by tapasya, which means following the rules and regulations of devotional service. They came to me. Becoming purified in this way, they came to me. So we should take full shelter of Krishna. That is the conclusion. There's no use to take shelter of anything else. Our home, our family, our country, our friends, our bank balance, they cannot give us shelter, because we are Atma, we are fully spiritual, so these things cannot give us shelter. And even if we think that we are the body, these things still cannot give us shelter. You can, if you're very rich, you can surround yourself with gundas and think that when death comes, they'll fight him off. But they cannot fight him off. They cannot fight off death. We may have a very good house with alarm systems and defenses and all arrangements to protect us, but when death comes, the house cannot protect us. So we should take full shelter of Krishna, following the example of great devotees. There are many described in the Puranas, and many other famous devotees. Here in South India, there are many famous devotees. That is mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam, that in Kali Yuga there will be many great devotees of Lord Vishnu in the places where the Kaveri, Tamrapani, all these rivers in South India, they're mentioned. So we should follow their example and take full shelter of the Lord, which for most of us is easier said than done. We may theoretically accept the principle of taking shelter of the Lord, but we find that it's not so easy to just convert ourselves to the level of Prahlad Maharaj overnight. So practically, taking shelter of the Lord for us means to take shelter of His instructions that He gives in Shastra, which lead us to the path of purification. This is called Sharanagati, the way of surrender. That if we're not able to, from the beginning, fully absorb our minds in thoughts of Krishna, and if we want to be fully surrendered to Krishna but find we have material attachments, then we should follow the prescriptions in Shastra which help us to become Krishna conscious. We should take shelter of Krishna by taking shelter of the prescriptions in Shastra, particularly those prescriptions which help us to develop Krishna consciousness. The Yuga Dharma, or the process of attaining Krishna consciousness in this age, is the chanting of the holy names of Krishna, especially the Maha Mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has introduced this chanting, and its efficacy is seen all over the world. Dino hino joto chilo hariname udharilo. Those who are fallen, they have become uplifted by this chanting. But other prescriptions should also be followed to help this, or to go side by side with this chanting process for our purification. So many rules, and on Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's order, Srila Rupa Goswami Prabhupada collected many prescriptions for practicing bhakti and gave them in his book, Sri Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So there are many rules there which devotees follow, and this helps them to become Krishna conscious. Some of the rules are that we should chant the holy names of the Lord. That's the basic rule. We should present ourselves before the deity of the Lord. We should offer prayers to the Lord. We should take only, for foodstuff, we should take only prasad, that which is offered to the Lord, which means no meat, no eggs, no tea, no coffee, no liquor, because we cannot offer these things to Krishna. So there are 64 basic rules given there. But they include other rules which are not given there. For instance, it's said that we should worship the deity, but how that is done, there are many, many other rules on archan which are given in other shastras. So our lives should be regulated by the rules of Shastra, and that will help us to come closer to Krishna. Because the rules and regulations of Shastra are given by Krishna to help us come to Him. Of course, there are some people who also quote Shastra, but they come to a different conclusion about what the message of Shastra is. Many people quote Shastra to try to prove that Krishna is not the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So it requires faith in Krishna based on Shastra to understand that the actual message of Shastra is that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Accepting that Bhagavad-gita is the essence of all Shastras, as is stated by Krishna in Bhagavad-gita. This is the Paramaguhyam, this is the topmost confidential knowledge. This is the Raja Vidya, the king of all knowledge. And within Gita, it's very clear, Lord Krishna says, Vedesha sarver ahameva vedyaha. I'm the object of knowledge in the Vedas. Ataf parataram nanyat kinchid asti. Above me, there is nothing, Lord Krishna says. So, Shastra has to be understood from devotees, and one has to have basic faith in that. And in this way, the Shastra gives guidance how we can live our lives in such a way that we can become purified and become Krishna conscious. There are various prescriptions, things to be done at certain times. In the early morning, one should rise, take bath. That's one time. And then during the month, there are 2 days which we observe Ekadashi, fasting. And then during the year, there are certain festivals, Janmashtami, Govardhan Puja. They're celebrated in a certain way. So there are various rules and regulations to regulate our life, and in this way we can follow this and become purified. This is the path of Sharanagati, taking shelter of Krishna by following his instructions. One of the important directions or general directions for devotees is to live simply, because if we try to make life more complicated, then we get caught up in the complexities of material life. In the material world, everyone is making plans how to increase their so-called happiness. But the result is that everything becomes very complex. Then we become full of anxieties. It becomes more difficult to follow all the prescriptions in Shastra, and in this way we become diverted from the path of Sharanagati. But even if we don't try if we try to avoid complexities, by nature life is complex, especially in the modern age. Just like, for instance, there are so many rules we should follow, so many practices we have to follow in Krishna consciousness. But even the basic sadhana which is given for purification, many people in the modern age find that difficult to follow, because they don't have time. They're working so hard, that it's such long hours that they don't have time to follow all the prescriptions. And it's very difficult to come out of this situation, because there are family responsibilities. So, what to do? Well, the best thing is to live more simply. But if due to some circumstances we're not able to, then what should we do? The Shastra gives general directions on how to live our lives. But Shastra cannot possibly cover every single situation that might arise in the life of every single person. Therefore, one of the Shastric directives is that one should accept a guru who guides one how to apply these principles in our practical life. So we should take direction from guru. You do this, you don't do that. You can only put aside 3 hours for sadhana. So what should I do? Should I do more arati or more chanting or more reading, or what should I do? So Guru will give some idea, maybe different for different persons, according to their abilities and propensities and level that they're on. But even we have Shastra, we have Guru, but even then it's not how to apply Shastra. We have to make so many decisions ourselves, because at every moment we're living in this world, and there are different challenges that arise. Someone may insult us, so it's not that we have even have the opportunity to look in the book and see what to do, or immediately contact the Guru. We're not with him, so how should we react? Then we should remember what we have heard from Guru, how we should tolerate any insults directed against us. But we should not tolerate insults against the Lord or his devotees. So if someone says to us, "Oh, you're just stupid," we may say to them, if we're in a normally tendency will be to say to that person, "Well, you're stupid." But if one can remember the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, you may agree with them. Yes, I'm so foolish that I didn't fully surrender my life to Krishna. But if they say, "Well, you're so stupid to chant Hare Krishna," then we say, then they're insulting Krishna and the acharyas who give this process. So we should not tolerate that. We should reply. But it may be that even we can't say something to that person. We find that when Hiranyakashipu was ruling over the universe, even Narad Muni and great devotees would offer him respect. They knew that in due course of time that he will be finished. But they didn't Or they went along with everyone else offering him respect. So you may say, well, why did they do that? Well, we could just suggest that if they made him more angry against the devotees, then he would have tortured the devotees even more. We might find ourselves in a position where we're in just for instance, we might be in a company and our manager is very sarcastic about Krishna consciousness. So how to deal with that situation? We can't say exactly. It depends upon the individual, how the individual devotee, how firm and convinced they themselves are in Krishna consciousness, and how bad that person is. Maybe they're not so bad. Maybe they're not just informed what it's about. So how to apply the teachings of Krishna consciousness in various times and situations and according to various people, it may not be so easy to understand. We can learn the prescriptions in Shastra, and we should do that. But how to apply them in different circumstances, well, that requires one to become experienced and mature in Krishna consciousness. The Shastra gives various rules of how to act in various ways. And the underlying principle of all the rules is that everything should be done for the satisfaction of Krishna. Atah pumbya dvija shrestha lanashrama vibhagashaha swanushthitasya dharmasya sangsiddhir haritoshanam. Translation. Therefore, O best among the Brahmanas, it is thus concluded that the highest perfection of performing one's duties according to Varna and Ashram is to satisfy Hari. Therefore, Krishnarte Akila Cheshta, all endeavors should be done for Krishna's sake, for the sake of Krishna's happiness. So, in everything that we do, we should think, by doing this, shall Krishna be satisfied? That requires sincerity on our part, that we follow in the footsteps of great devotees by taking their example of acting only for the satisfaction of Krishna. If we are deceitful and crooked, we can twist it. The Sanskrit word is more precise. I'm just translating it from Sanskrit in my mind, actually. If we're kapat, then we're kaput. The German word kaput means all broken up. So, then we may interpret, we may say that, well, Krishna wants to see his devotees happy. So I am a devotee, so I want to eat this ice cream, so I should eat it, and then Krishna will be happy. This is back to front reasoning, kapati. That rather we should think, what does Krishna like to eat? Let me offer that to him. So how to apply the rules and regulations of Shastra? We have to be sincere, be intelligent. We have to know what the rules and regulations are. For major decisions, when we should consult Guru, we should follow the examples of the great devotees. You can see, Srila Prabhupada in this circumstance, he did like this, he did like that. Then we should consider also is that what Srila Prabhupada did in a certain circumstance, is that suitable for us to do? There's one example where Srila Prabhupada visited the Indian consulate in New York, bringing with him one of his young American disciples. So Prabhupada met with one official there, and the official, he wasn't responding properly or so. So Prabhupada was quite strong with him. So then afterwards, Prabhupada said to his young American disciple that I can say like that, but you cannot. Because Srila Prabhupada in the consulate officials, because the consulate officials saw him as older, as a sannyasi, so he had to respect what he said. But if a young American came and started speaking strongly with him, it would have a different effect. So there are many considerations. What is our level? What is our adhika or eligibility? For instance, we may think that, well, Prabhupada spoke very strongly, so I shall speak very strongly also. But if one is to speak strongly, but then one should follow the example also of one in behavior. If one is not following strictly the principles of devotional service, but he speaks very strongly, then people will think that what is this? This is bogus. If one speaks against sense gratificatory so-called swamis, but then it's seen that the so-called devotee who's speaking like that himself is living a sense gratificatory life, then that is a kind of cheating. So there are many considerations in how to apply the teachings of Shastra in our practical lives. The basic point is to follow them, not to avoid them. You may think that, well, my guru said that, well, I don't have to do so much reading because I don't have so much time, so I should chant 16 rounds and then you can just read for 20 minutes a day. But then if the circumstances change and you have more time and you still think, well, he told me 20 minutes a day, so you see, that's all right, that's enough. And the circumstances may change, so then the application will change also. So again, it requires sincerity, knowledge, understanding of what Krishna wants. That understanding will gradually come as we practice Krishna consciousness. That is called Sharanagati, the path of taking shelter. Gradually we advance in Krishna consciousness. Those who are serious about Krishna consciousness will adopt all the rules and regulations immediately. They'll be eager to follow all the rules, knowing that these rules help us to advance in Krishna consciousness. We have to hear regularly from devotees so that we can know exactly what is Krishna consciousness and how to practice that in our lives. Otherwise we may be bewildered that Krishna himself, he's not following everything. He told Arjuna that Karna was protesting, how can you kill me? I'm down from my chariot, you're on your chariot in this circumstance. How can you attack me and kill me? This is adharma. Then Krishna said to Karna that where was your dharma when you organized the gambling match? Where was your dharma when you dragged Draupadi into the assembly by her hair? Where was your dharma when you conspired to burn the Pandavas alive? Where was your dharma when you conjointly, all the great Maharatis, they killed the young boy Abhimanyu? So according to the strict rules of dharma, Arjuna, he shouldn't have killed Karna in that situation, but Krishna told him to. Krishna apparently cheated when the sun had set and Jarasandha was freed from... Arjuna had to reach Jarasandha before the sun set. And then the sun set, but then Krishna showed, no, it hasn't set. And Arjuna went on and killed Jarasandha. Not Jarasandha, the Jayadratha. We were just discussing this morning how Yudhishthira Maharaj's chariot went down after he uttered the untruth of Ashvatthama being killed, or actually tricked his guru in this way. So it seems that for a small fault, Yudhishthira Maharaj was so much punished. So it may seem that Krishna is teaching us in Shastra how to be ideal, but he himself is not ideal. And then we have to understand what ideal means. Krishna's ideal is to give shelter to his surrendered devotee. Krishna, he is dedicated to upholding his devotees. So the rules of dharma, they are to teach us to lead a good life. But through such incidents, Krishna teaches that the highest good is service to the devotee. And Krishna himself appears to break the rules of dharma just to protect his devotees. In this way, he shows that this is the highest dharma. So actually, we can break all the rules to serve Krishna and his devotees, if required. Generally, we have to follow the rules, and those rules, they facilitate our serving Krishna and the devotees. But in unusual circumstances, by breaking one rule, we are able to serve the Lord and His devotees in a better way. For instance, there's a strict rule that one should never enter the deity room without taking bath. But sometimes it happens that demons, they attack the temple and they want to break the deity, or they want to steal from the deity room. And they would generally do so at night. So if a devotee goes to protect the Lord, he may not have time to it wouldn't be appropriate to take a bath. So in that circumstance, if you think, well, I can't go to the deity room because I can't wake up the deities till 4 o'clock, and in the meantime, the demons are stealing, that's a foolishness. So one should know the principle of satisfying the Lord. One should follow the rules and regulations for the purpose of satisfying the Lord. And one should also be intelligent enough to understand those unusual circumstances where even by breaking the rules and regulations, we have to satisfy them. It's not an easy thing to understand, but Krishna will give us the intelligence to understand what to do if we are sincere to serve. Sincerity is the key. Hare Krishna. So let us all take shelter of the Lord by chanting the holy names and following the instructions as given in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu and other scriptures. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Is there any question about this? He'd stay where he was.
He is asking that Krishna says in Gita, you are not this body, you are not mind, you are neither intelligent. So, what does it matter if we eat non-vegetarian stuff, because it goes only to the body, it's not no way connected to soul.
Actually, it's a fact, if one is fully self-realized, he can do anything, and there's no sin incurred. Although a fully self-realized person also doesn't eat meat, generally speaking. But because we identify with this material world, therefore there is consideration of sin and piety within it. Because we identify with the body, mind and intelligence, and other living beings do also, therefore the question of suffering arises. When we kill the chicken or the Atma who is identifying with the chicken body, not directly but through the false ego experiences suffering. Therefore to unnecessarily give suffering to a living being is described in Shastra as sinful. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So one of the rules in Shastra, which you can all follow now, is to honor the prasad offered to the Lord. That's a rule which most people don't have a lot of difficulty in following. But actually, to properly follow that, we should not eat anything else. That's